I visited my friend Rasmus this summer, who is a blacksmith in Norway. Of course, we spent some time in his forge, and we set out to make a forged crochet hook to go with my forged knitting needles. The shape of a crochet hook is a bit tricky. It tapers inwards on one side, while the other remains straight. And then the hook is thicker again and only sticks out slightly compared to the thickness of the handle. We spent some time figuring out the best process to make this shape. Or at least Rasmus did, while I watched and learned. Then it was my turn. I started with 6mm stock. The first step was to make the taper, while leaving some material on top for the hook. As a beginner blacksmith, my main challenge was to keep it straight and avoid twisting. Thankfully, I had help close by whenever I needed it. To make the hook, I started by clamping it in a vise and bending over the top. I then continued bending it further on the anvil. And I used a hardy tool to make sure it was a sharp bend. I flattened out a portion of the handle to act as a grip. And then I decided I wasn't satisfied and I started again. I followed the same steps, but this time I was more aware of the things I needed to pay attention to, and things went a lot smoother. This was as far as I could take it by forging. Next up was filing, which I used to round over the bottom and fine-tune the hook. Then I stamped the size of the crochet hook into the handle. And it was time to go home. Back home, I put the crochet hook to the test, and I was happy to see it got the job done. But there were several things that could be improved, so I decided to refine it a bit more by grinding. The main improvement was that I shaped the top of the hook to a rounded point. This makes it easier to stick through the loops of yarn. I also rounded the hook itself and made it a bit thinner, so that it's easier to pull back through a loop of yarn. Finally, I spent some time rounding over any hard edges that the yarn could catch on. I put it to another test and the difference was clearly noticeable. It's now much easier to use and it's almost as good as my normal crochet hooks, which are just a little bit smoother. But hey, those aren't forged. Making your own tools is such a great way to get to know the intricacies and details of how they work. Some aspects of a tool might seem insignificant or you'll never even notice them, but when you try to make your own, you realize the reasons why it is the way it is. I certainly have a lot more respect for the humble crochet hook now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.